Okay. So when you're playing an extension from your cornerstone, you want to play a 4 or 5 space jump. So black could play here to jump over 5 or here to jump over 4. So that's about as far as you want to go. If you're gonna go further than that, then just approach the corner. Because if you are playing this, now when they go in, their eye space is going to be really small. So you'll have a target to attack. So the idea of the extension is you're trying to build an area to attack something. So you're trying to say, I'm going to make this and I want to attack something in this area. And then I'll have the advantage because it'll be really, really tight for any white stones. If you're not going to do that, then you could either just make points or you can approach and threaten a large position or just fight for this corner. It's lots of options. But typically extensions jump over 4 or jump over 5. Because here we compare, you can see the shape is a little bit better for white. Okay. Also, the rule of thumb that I teach my students in the Clossy approach is when you don't have support, you want to play on the third line. So support means I have a stone that way and I have a stone that way. But here is a white stone. So that means I do not have support on both sides. So I want to be on the third line. Fourth line is for developing. So you're saying I'm developing this position. But if white goes right here, white is threatening to undercut your position. So you usually want to block with something, right? But you now wasted a move because you could have just started on the third line. And then if white plays, you can jump instead of playing like here. So it's a little bit more efficient, usually, to be on the third line when you don't have support on both sides. But if we change it a little bit, if we play this approach, now we can play on the fourth line because now we have support on both sides. It's a bit fancier and a little bit more complicated, but that way we can, if we play this, now we can play on the fourth line in order to have a little bit bigger position, and our opponent can't just undercut us with no consequence. Right, because now 4 is a weak group. So it's a little bit more complicated because there's a lot more invasion points, but that's typically the idea, or the basic idea is third line when you don't have support on both sides, fourth line when you do. Expand. The star point does not want the corner. That is the last thing we want with this 4-4 move. Okay, the star point wants this square. It's saying in this square, I want to attack something or my opponent will give me too much. So this is what we're targeting. We're not even targeting this for territory or cash. We're saying in this area, I'm going to make more than white. I don't care about the corner. Okay, so if you want the corner, the 3-4 points and the 3-3 points get the corner much faster. So it doesn't make sense to play the least corner getting move out of the 4 and then still want the corner. You played the one that gets the corner the least. So go for the center is the idea. So in this case, you want to expand and you can threaten a pincer to attack something in the square. You could also, this is a little bit old-fashioned, but it follows kind of the same concept where we say, I'm going to build this square. It's very, very like straightforward. I wouldn't recommend this, but it's definitely very, very, I'm going for this square, right? It's a very straightforward plan. But I think having a foundation and then building into the square is important. But usually you want to spread out. You can even go here, honestly. I think a lot of star points can play a large knight. Don't go fifth line, though. If we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If we go fifth line, remember how I said third line is where you want to be on your opponent's side? So that means I can go third line right here. And now you've lost your base or your foundation. So black has lost a lot of their foundation. and white can be attacked, but we don't want our opponent to be able to just destroy our points and base when we have 3 stones here. So you want to go on the 3rd line when you don't have support, 4th line when you do. In this case, I would go 2 though, and now you have a very solid foundation. It's not as perfect as the corner enclosure from 3-4 points, but your opponent didn't quite punish you because your opponent can go here, and now you're really uncomfortable, but this is a little bit advanced. I think just following the basic rule of thumbs, even if you aren't sure why, is usually pretty helpful. Yeah, so this is a bad fundamental. Okay. Okay, this is a good extension. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so that's good. White, I'm wondering if this is too early. Because there is an open corner right here. But I don't know. It doesn't really matter. I'm overthinking it. As long as you're playing big moves. Okay, good. All right, so now we need to learn the secret of attacking. So we have a position, right? We have a position that we've built. We're saying in this section, I want more than white, okay? I want to attack something in this section. So when you attack, what you're actually trying to do is make a positive exchange rate. So you can think of it like a credit card. So if you make cash, like if you get a credit card for $1,000, yes, you have $1,000, but you also have $1,000 of debt. So in other words, if your opponent is your debt, then if you make 10 points and they make 10 points, then it cancels out. You actually didn't make anything. So you get $1,000, but you have to pay it immediately back. Your profit margin is 0. However, when you make a framework, what you're saying is in this area, I'm going to make more than my opponent. So you don't actually have to make a lot. You just need to make something positive. So there's a difference between cash and profit, or territory and profit. Okay, so you can have $1,000 and then $1,000 of debt, or you're going to have $100 and you can have no debt. So the $100 with no debt is better. So in this case, when our opponent runs away, all we're thinking here is, I want something for free. So I think going 4th line right here, our opponent is running away and we have made cash while forcing our opponent to run away, and our opponent has made nothing. This is a positive exchange rate. So when you are building a position, like with extensions, what you're doing right here is you're trying to set up something that will get you a result like this, where you make something, your opponent makes nothing. That is how you affect the result of the game, because you need to have more than your opponent to win the game. It doesn't really matter if you have 100 points or 50 points. You have to have more than your opponent. That's the only thing that matters. So you need a positive exchange rate to win the game. So that is what the framework is for. So in this case, this is saying I want to build this area, but I think there's easier profit right now. The other concern is, even though you are surrounding your opponent, I would use 1 space jumps, by the way. It's just attacking with solid connected shapes is a lot easier. There's also the concern of, what do you do if this corner gets counterattacked? So this corner is also not okay. So I think this is a very easy and natural way to play. And if white counterattacks you, you just run away. And now white is attacking themselves. Every time they attack you, white is also attacking themselves. Oh, your opponent did play this. Nice. According to my fundamentals, when we have a weak group, we want to stay connected. So my classy approach would say play a diagonal. This is more powerful, but also a lot more dangerous and easy. It's easier to die with it. Because every time you leave a cutting point, you are taking the chance of dying. So if you're going to leave a cutting point, I would not recommend doing it in an area where you're completely surrounded. I think this is an easier way to play. This is more powerful, but a lot riskier. So it depends on what you're comfortable with. I would not ignore your stone is in danger. Okay, so let's imagine for a second. If this stone is dead, then we're making the assumption that this is white's territory. So this was black's position, but black got maybe this for it, and white got more. So it looks like white got a 10 to 15 points profit margin in black's framework. So this is the opposite of what we want to happen. So we need to save this stone. Also, since this stone is attacking the group, it's worth saving. If your stone is cutting something or attacking something, then just save it so that way you can keep the weaknesses for your opponent in the area. You could try to make some eye space. I think that would be the simplest thing to think about. Maybe here. I think just making life is going to be the simplest idea here. But ignoring it is just not good, because now we have a stone that is getting surrounded, and we're in trouble. Okay, now, looking at what black did, black is threatening to surround this white stone. I want to say the gap here is a lot wider than the gap here, so this stone is in more danger than this stone. But if we just want to play defense first, it's also fine. I think we would go... Locally, we could go here to just get some cash, but I think I want to go third line because I'm not interested in developing. I'm interested in getting back to my weak group. So I don't want to develop here. I want to leave there. So I want to settle as fast as I can. So third line is safer. So settle on third line with the least amount of moves that you can so you can get back to the main fight. Okay, this is possible. Little scarier, but still doable. No, you've been touched, you gotta respond, typically. Because you're not actually locally alive. So if I surround, you're a little bit of a tight situation here. Maybe you're alive, but only if you can read a lot. It's very scary though. So I would be worried about this as white. Normally just respond to touches, it's a good rule of thumb. This is a nice way to try to run, using shoulder hit to run up. I think that's a very nice value, but in my mind, I care a lot more about keeping the stone dead, because if this stone is dead, then by definition, I should be alive, and I have 20 points of cash. So if I can live with 20 points, I'm happy. So you don't need to run here if you can just immediately live. Okay, you go up if you're trying to run away. If you go down, then just go here. Because if you go here, then you can get the double Hane tactic. And this bullies these two stones. And that is because they have very low lifelines and bad shape. And then black builds all the influence in exchange for giving you like 4 points. In this case, 5, I guess. In exchange for 5 points, black gets a ton of influence. So it's a bad exchange rate. So if you're gonna play here, then just least amount of moves and move on. Checking your opponent's cut it is a good idea, but usually the 1-point jumps are pretty safe. Staying connected is good. You do have a cutting point right here, though. So what I would do is actually squeeze the cutting stone and then counterattack. And now you're attacking, if you pull out this stone too, you're attacking 3 targets. So although it's very good for white to notice that there's a cut right here, it's very dangerous to start a fight or an attack when you have so many problems on the board already. Because if you start a fight here and these two become relevant during the fight, you're going to have to fix 2 things at once and you can't play 2 moves in a row. So typically, I tell my students, fix your stuff first. I kind of just want to start fixing stuff. Fix your stuff first. Once you're okay, then you can start the fight. Because now you're not really worried about getting counterattacked as much. You can be leaned on, but you're not going to get a weak group over here. So it's a lot safer to start this fight when you're alive. But if you try to do or activate the cut right now, then you can potentially get counterattacked. Okay, looks like you backed off. So yeah, I think just don't even worry about it. Just back off. There's also this cut right here. Yeah, I think it's just too soon to attack. Good, good. Checking the cuts is good. Black, if you want to get around this stone, what you do is you normally play a knight's move. Because the one point space jump that has already been peeped, so there's a white stone here, has 2 cutting points. But if you play a knight's move, it only has 1 cutting point. And here we need to be practicing our go problems. So you need this stone to be trapped in a net or a ladder. In this case, I want to say you have neither, unless this is really, really unlucky for white. No, that definitely puts a stone into Atari. So in that case, we push 1 more and then play the knight's move. And now we have an easy net. So you can play a knight's move to try to get around faster, so that way you're not just pushing from behind 1 stone at a time, but you need to watch that cutting point. And in order to understand that cutting point, you need to be doing your go problems for nets and ladders. That is how you capture cutting stones usually. If you are saying that white is getting too much right here, then just go in. Don't even try to build the influence. If you're not going to trade cash for influence, then just destroy the cash. This is very exciting. I'm a little concerned about the star point and the fact that you never got this move to make sure you're alive. But I want to say that you're much stronger here. Having some foundation right here really helps. Okay, so let's see how this goes. But now you lose the cutting stone to a ladder. Gotta save the cutting stone. Don't cut if you're not going to save it. If you're not going to save it, then just go here. Leave the weaknesses in your opponent. Make them worry about it. But if you go here, then black just captures it in a ladder. So now we've kind of wasted the cut. Oh, big mistake. So ladders and nets. These are fundamental go problems that you need to do probably thousands of these. Just never stop doing them, basically. So what I would tell my students is if you miss a ladder, then just go do 100 ladder problems. They don't have to be hard either. They can be easy ladders. Just the idea is to make your eyes more aware of the shape. So just do 100 ladders or maybe a set of ladder problems a few dozen times or something, and then play more games. And then if you miss it again, go do it again. Right? And you just do it until your eyes become just naturally aware of these sort of patterns. So that way you just never miss it. It comes with practice and discipline, but it can be mastered just by doing some go problems. This one, just connect. If you're fixing that cut. I want to say these 3 are in danger though. So here I think fixes everything, because now this cut, is a ladder. Yeah. So this fixes the ladder, or the cutting point here with a ladder, and it's still connected because diagonals are connected. Versus this one is a large knight's move, which has a cutting point. This one does not help these 3 stones, and it doesn't fix the cutting point. So this one's not good. Okay, for white, yep, save your cutting stones, very helpful. I would think about and try to go the way that captures the stones that are cutting you. Because if you can just kill the thing that is killing you, then it's going to be good for you. It is risky, does require some good reading, so if you're uncertain, then sure, just run away. But that's something I would be thinking about, as if it's possible to do. This is not a Tsuji or a tactic. Don't do that with a weak group. If it doesn't just capture the cutting stones, then don't do it. The more stones you give your opponent to attack you with, the worse it is. So, see, let's check this. I want to say it's good for white to do that. So white or black cannot cut there. So just jump is good. If you're worried about it, you could just go here. The idea is I want to run down to my friends and not get trapped and captured. Black, these 4 stones are attacking these 4 stones because they're the ones that are cutting off the group from the foundation. So they're cutting stones, which means you need to save them. Probably just right here. The idea is if you run with these stones, then you're also attacking these. It looks like I'm over the time for this game, actually. So hopefully you both found that helpful.